Easter Bunny Kill Kill is a 2006 film release. It is very much done in the grindhouse type style. It's definitely a very low budget film, but the story really isn't much. The acting is fairly decent, but it's definitely kind of one of those interesting, I guess, films you would watch just because it has a crazy title, which is pretty much the only reason I watched it, and it really wasn't that bad. It does open with a guy wearing a bunny mask holding up a convenience store. Obviously the clerk is murdered, but the director definitely does try to exercise some creativity. For some reason we get John Woo type shots where we're looking through the barrel of the gun and we see the guy get killed. But this type of tactic, you can definitely tell he goes for interesting angles, the director does, but it just becomes annoying and tedious after a while. He doesn't do it too often, but it's just so off-center and bizarre. It's just, please stop. The guy who holds up the convenience store, his name is Remington. He immediately goes to his girlfriend Mindy's house afterward just to kind of hang out, and he later does weasel his way into moving into the house. Unfortunately for the family, because Mindy is a widowed single parent of a special needs child with cerebral palsy, Remington obviously doesn't take too kindly to the boy and pretty much sets on making the kid's life hell out. When the boy Nicholas is taking the trash out, he runs across a hobo who, in exchange for the glass bottles he was throwing out, gives him a bunny. So Nicholas, who has an obsession with Easter, assumes this is the Easter bunny. He hides the rabbit in his room, and he does care for it, but this gives Remington leverage as far as Nicholas not being able to say or do anything in order to prevent him from moving in with the family. Otherwise, he threatens to lie and tell Mindy, the boy's mother, that the rabbit has rabies and he's going to break its neck. And what the hell kind of conversation is that to have with a kid to begin with? But yeah, it just kind of shows how big a piece of trash this guy is, and it does not stop there. The following morning, because yes, Remington slept over, he shoos off the handyman or the gardener because supposedly the man was speaking ill of Nicholas. So they're shooed off rather harshly. This is a conversation that takes place in Spanish. Mindy apparently does not speak Spanish, but Remington does, and they go off in a huff, just angry. So the gardener's wife, who was the babysitter for Nicholas, is obviously no longer available. Remington, who claims to be a freelance, volunteers to stay with the boy and babysit. So Mindy has to go off to the hospital and work a double shift. Remington takes advantage of this opportunity to call over one of his pedophile friends to spend some time with Nicholas in exchange for drugs. Obviously, when the pedophile drops by, Remington steps out for a couple of hours to pick up some prostitutes. During this time, the angry gardener returns, and he intends to not only get the tools back that he was forced to leave with. Unbeknownst to the gardener, though, there was a masked assailant wearing a bunny mask who killed the pedophile once the gardener and his friend dropped by. The gardener is murdered. The guy who is his friend just kind of hangs out for a bit because he doesn't know what has happened. By this point, Remington has already shown back up with the prostitutes. One of the prostitutes is kind of scared a bit by the assailant, which Remington still has not seen. The friend of the gardener does show up. He assumes this was the person causing the trouble, so Remington kills him. During that commotion, one of the prostitutes is also killed. So we just kind of have a, I guess you could say, a rotating door with fading characters. But eventually it's just Remington and the prostitute who are left. She is also killed off. And Remington has his throat slit by the masked bunny murderer. We realize that this is Mindy, Nicholas's mother, who was actually hiding out in the house, observing Remington's behavior and protecting her child. We also later learn that she became a widow because she murdered her husband for refusing to accept her special needs son. And this scene goes on for at least 10 to 15 minutes. Meanwhile, Remington is sitting there with his throat bleeding out, and realistically, he should have died a long time ago. We would not have had time for him to hear the backstory, let alone for the hobo to return and allow us to discover that he is actually Nicholas's father, who had been set on fire but did not die and became a wandering hobo that was protecting the family. So there are just a lot of far-fetched twists and turns in this one, but obviously they make up and they become a happy family again, and that's the story of the Easter miracle. But yeah, it's really not too bad a film. The acting in some spots is just kind of blah. Of course, it's a low-budget film, so you can't really expect great lighting and great acting, but they definitely make best with what they have, and for the most part, they really do pull it off well. So to anyone who is interested in taking a look at this, I will go ahead and link the video in the description box. And that is pretty much it. I will talk to you guys later.